The city council meeting is? Someone just told me it was right now. Is it not until tonight?
So city council, there isn't one today just because yesterday was a holiday, so they don't normally have a council on the following Tuesday. So it'll be till next Tuesday.
Oh, they just told me they were all in a city council meeting.
Who said?
The city manager's office.
This is Susan Bassey. A few years ago, I went to City Hall in San Jose, a city that has a $5.2 billion annual budget. And I recorded in the building, and some of the employees didn't seem to like that much. Shortly thereafter, the security station went in place. And recently, I went to City Hall again to ask about the practice of their elected officials, city council members, getting restraining orders against journalists. And I also asked about how they were spending money on local journalism versus mainstream media. And shortly after I was there this time recording the officials, this notice went up about First Amendment audits and your right to record in the building, with a very cautionary warning about what could be criminal if you should capture private conversations of employees on your recording equipment, and basically threatening arrest and criminal prosecution if such was done. So I figured whatever it was that I had recorded in that building that day might be of interest. So here it is.
I'm just wondering, what does the city do about local news and people that are, starting these little social media channels and kind of providing community information? Do you do any community outreach or funding for any of that? Or
To be clear, I had done records requests and knew the answer to many of my questions. They don't fund local journalism. They fund hedge fund newspapers like the San Jose Mercury, where they spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on subscriptions and legal notices, and they don't spend any of that money on the people who are really providing information to their community.
advertising or subscriptions for any of that?
Okay, you brought up a lot of things in that question. So the gist of your question is, how do we inform the public about what's going on, or when you say reporting?
Well, you're in charge of community outreach.
Yes.
Is that what you're?
Yes.
So what is
Our
your
department?
Your
Yes.
official title is what?
Public Information Manager.
Okay.
And
so,
I, along with our planning team, so like when there's proposed developments and we hold community meetings, and so the planners organize those kinds of meetings, and then my team helps do the publicity. We create a web page about any proposed development. Not all of them, but the ones that are high level.
Sure.
Not like the really tiny, small things, but, and then we do social media. If it's a big initiative, it'll get mentioned in our newsletters.
So when you say you do social media, what do you do?
So we have, all departments, most of the big departments, and our department included, have their own platforms. So we have a platform that goes out to next door. We have a Facebook platform. We have an Instagram platform, and we're on X, formerly known as Twitter. And then we post cohesively across all of those. And that's how we do our social media.
The government providing some information in mainstream media or on social media is not journalism. Journalism requires pushing against the government, making them uncomfortable, and getting information the government might not want the public to know about. And one of the issues we're looking at are these city council members who are getting restraining orders against journalists they disfavor, journalists that aren't going to report the way those public officials would want them to.
If there's some smaller platforms, like which smaller platforms?
Well, I mean, obviously this East Side San Jose Times has come on my radar because you have a city council member who filed a restraining order against him. And so I've done the research. He has 70,000 followers. The Mercury only has 30,000 on Instagram. So he's got a clear reach into East San Jose, which is a big part of this demographic. So what do you do? I know the mayor interacts with that page. I don't know that anyone financially supports him, but every time you buy a subscription from the Mercury, you're financially supporting that news publication. So I'm just trying to get a feel for what you do to balance it out.
The Mercury News is now owned by Bay Area News Service, which owns all the smaller papers.
Suddenly, this public official, who is in charge of providing information to the public about development in the city of San Jose, started to feel like a marketing resource for the San Jose Mercury, telling me about their business and why they do business with them. The San Jose Mercury also had endorsed the city council member who got the restraining order against the journalists.
Yeah.
I'm asking if you put any resources into community communications that are not corporately owned or large corporations that are publicly
we
traded.
do. Like today, I did 2 interviews. One was with Telemundo, and one was
which
with
is owned by NBC, I believe.
NBC owns Univision.
And in trying to demonstrate she didn't just provide information to the San Jose Mercury, she talked about all the interviews that she had granted to NBC-owned publications and broadcasting agencies. And this was a video taken in the town hall of Los Gatos. It is a video of the public information officer for the city of San Jose's housing department, Jeffrey Scott. He is having to be restrained by multiple police officers and his wife, who was the mayor of Los Gatos at the time this video was taken. And his conduct was so abusive and so outrageous that the person that he was shouting threats to actually obtained a temporary restraining order. But Jeff Scott was allowed to continue to do his job as a public information officer, and he hired divorce attorney Nicole Ford to defend him in that case that ended up being before Judge Eric Geffen. And Judge Geffen said at that hearing that he thought this was a one-off, and he dismissed the restraining order case, even though everyone who saw that video thought he was quite abusive and deserved a restraining order.
Everybody wants to interview, and I only do planning, building, and code.
Too often, public officials and employees try to convince us that the public and the media have fair and equal access to information the government provides, but we know that's not true. We know city council members can easily get restraining orders against journalists they disfavor, and we also know that policies and procedures about First Amendment auditors are designed to deter citizen journalists and people who might want to record and exercise their right in public buildings. But we also know that declining interviews and refusing to make comments is a policy and a practice. It's a pattern that we see not only in the government, but with private divorce attorneys as well.
Nicole Ford.
Yes?
Steve James, your reporter.
Understood.
How are you guys feeling about your case today?
I'm not going to have any comment.
No comment?
No comment.
And while Nicole Ford had no comment when she was representing B.J. Fathom, a divorce attorney and minors counsel, in a restraining order case, she had plenty of comment when she was representing Jeff Scott, who was the public information officer for the housing department of the city of San Jose. And in that, she got a comment in the Los Gatos newspaper and had plenty to say about the person that she was opposing in that case, who had brought a civil harassment order against her client. Everything in that article had a lot to do with that restraining order case. It didn't have a lot to do with disclosing the fact that Mr. Scott was the public information officer in the city of San Jose.
No, probably not.
Hello, how can I help you?
Hi, I'm a reporter. My name is Susan Bassey, and I'm going to be doing a story on Heather Allen
Okay.
related to 2 children that she represented back in
Are
2014.
you both recording me?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
We focus a lot on private and government attorneys because when private attorneys are appointed by a court to represent children or to act as a private judge in a family law case, they are quasi-government officials, even if they work from private offices. And the public has a right to know how they charge and how they treat, especially children clients. And so we're going to continue to knock on the doors and ask the questions, even when the divorce attorneys want to claim privacy or that they don't have to answer our questions.
And me.